the Blind Press YouTube channel and the Star Trek stream. We're trying it at a different time and see how that does. And today we're doing Skep Talk's top 3 picks for TNG, and also I'd like to wish him a happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
I hope that this is a fun way of celebrating talking Trek with some friends. And
nothing better.
So Skep Talk's picks were The Offspring from Season 3, Cause and Effect from Season 5, and Masks from Season 7. 3 awesome picks. I love all 3 of these episodes. And I can't wait to get into talking with them about them with you guys. So I'm joined by Skep and Irate Prostate, and Hammer. I believe he's not feeling very well. Unless nope, he's not here. Okay, so he joined us. I'll be watching. But Hammer did mention he wasn't feeling well, so he may not join us. But how are you two doing, guys?
I'm hanging in there. How about you?
You're hanging in there? That's good.
Yeah. I'm doing well. By the way, I'm 67 years old today. But did you know that in base 29 numbers, I'm 29? I thought that was cool. In base 29, I was doing just conversions just for the fun of it, and to see if any cool numbers came up, because I'm not really a numerologist, but sometimes it's fun to look for coincidences. And I noticed on base 29, the number that I turned today is 29, and that's going to be auspicious on some level, right?
Right. I think so.
I agree. It has some sort of cosmic significance, and it probably will be revealed later on. But and thank you guys. Yes, wish me happy birthday out there in chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Dax. Thanks, everybody. It's nice to see. I noticed the cost and noticed the new time. And I think this is the time that we've decided to go ahead with in the future. Is that right, Blind?
Yeah, because it just allows...
It makes a lot more sense.
It does, because it's not right in the middle of the afternoon. It allows me and Pincalo to get some stuff done with the kids. We're not streaming against Bloodwing, who shares a big chunk of our audience.
That's true. I'd like to thank everybody in chat for wishing me happy birthday. By the way, I was playing around with numerology today, and I noticed that in base 29, the number that I turned 67 today, is 29. Isn't that strange?
Base 29,
I want to thank everybody in chat for wishing me a happy birthday. Base 29. I seem to be doing the same thing over.
We're doing a cause and effect joke, are we?
I thought it would be an interesting way to lead into that one. If you wanted to start discussing cause and effect.
Sure, we'll do that. Oh shit, no, Offspring is first, isn't it?
Well, Offspring is my sentimental favorite of all of those.
Would you like to save Offspring for the last?
Yeah, that's what I was going to save it for last.
All right, let's save that for the last. So, Cause and Effect is a really cool episode. It's a timey episode again.
It's a time loop thing, yeah.
Yeah, because TNG does a lot of good stuff with time. I have to say, it's probably the best series that deals with time issues, whether they be time travel or just paradoxes. So this one, it's a little bit like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Every scene, like if you're watching it on cable, every time you come back from a commercial break, they repeat everything again, but there's a subtle difference. There's what happens is there's a lead up to the destruction of the Enterprise.
Right.
And every time, I think it repeats 3 times. And each time it ends with Picard ordering the abandoned ship command.
Exactly.
And this episode is centered around them trying to figure out that first that they are in fact in a loop. Second, how to get out and how to recognize when they're repeating. Third, how to get out of it. And it's a really well done.
It
really well done episode.
When I first saw this episode, the very first time I saw this, I thought when you see, it goes through the thing, and Riker says, I think we should decompress the shuttle bay, and that will kick us out of the way because they can't maneuver out of the way of this other ship that's about to hit them, and they basically don't take Riker's suggestion, and they try and grapple it with the tractor beam. That's unsuccessful. They crush a nacelle and causes the warp core to go unstable. It can't eject the warp core, and so they have to hit the pods and try and get off, but they don't do it in time, and the ship blows up. Well, the first time that I saw that, I thought, this is a holodeck episode.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought they're doing a simulation of an emergency. This is a drill, and this is just going to lead in. And I thought, man, they sure spent a lot of time doing it. This is an awful long lead in for the show. And then when it happens the second time, it took me, the first time I saw this, it took me a long time for me to figure out that, hey, wait a minute, this is exactly the same thing. I think it was at the poker game was where I figured it out.
I thought, honestly, the first time I watched it, because it was on cable, I thought somebody at the station fucked up.
Oh, and just restarted the episode?
Right.
I was like, what's going on here? Because I don't have those visual subtleties that you guys do. So I didn't get it until Dr. Crusher starts,
because the audio is almost exactly the same.
It is, yeah.
Unless you pick up the card difference, the 9 and the 4 card difference, or in the poker game, or the, like you said, very, very subtle differences between them. What about you, Ira?
I love this episode. I remember when it came out, it was like it's like I was impressed that that you could tell it was rebooting, and the people involved started picking up on it.
Yeah.
It's
they
a good
wrote
episode.
It very well.
Yeah, they did.
There are little things though in this. There are fun little things that I just enjoy. This is sometimes in TNG, maybe more than almost any of the other series. Some of the episodes have little nuggets of deliciousness. I don't know how else to describe them, but little things like Worf grumbling that whether or not Data has actually randomized the cards.
I sense a conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly. I love that stuff. I'm such a dork. I'm such a nerd on this stuff. I just love that. And things like I even like the part with Gates McFadden when she turns the light on, the voices stop, and breaks, and she accidentally breaks the wine glass. I mean, it's just full of symbolism, in that something is going wrong. And anyway, so that's just
yeah, it's a
and
great.
And then when they start to have feelings, they say, "Why? How did you know that was going to happen?"
Yeah,
and especially at the poker game when Dr. Crusher starts calling out, you're going to deal me a queen.
Yeah.
Or then she calls sickbay.
Yes,
and the people in sickbay are like,
he's not here. Wait a minute, here he is.
He just walked in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really well done, and it's really well acted too.
Yes, it is. Even Dr. Crusher is acting and making facial expressions. Yeah, that's the frustrating thing about Gates McFadden. I just felt like a lot of times she was mailing in her performances, but this is one where she did a pretty good job, I thought.
It's another. It kind of reminds me of her performance on Honestly and Remember Me, because she was trying to work through it logically.
Yes, very much so.
Like she was trying to use diagnostic tools again.
Right.
And was still very much disturbed, but like she was able to play the balance between diagnostic problem solving, but still, hey, I'm really unsettled by this, which you would be if you were in that situation. So, I don't know. I think that was a really, really well done.
And once again, LaForge's visor is key to.
Yeah, Geordie's visor is how they've solved the issue.
Right. That's such a handy MacGuffin.
Yep.
From just used as a device to,
Yeah, I think they were stuck in the loop for 87 days, is what.
It's nothing compared to the captain at the end of it.
No, freaking hundreds of years or 80 years.
80 years, I think is what it was.
And the captain is played by none other than Kelsey Grammer.
Right.
Yep, Frasier in space.
I just love that. I had forgotten that it was Kelsey Grammer that played Captain Bates.
How long have they been in the loop?
The Enterprise? Or
No, the Grammer's ship. I can't remember.
Like 80 years or 82 years or something like
that. Because they reprised that it's 2278. Captain Picard says, What year are you in, Captain? And Bates says, well, it's 2278. No. Negative. Not so much.
Yeah, because he was from either just after or in the same time as Kirk, I think.
Yeah. And he's got the different uniform on.
Yeah.
He's got a dress version of the old uniform on, which I think is kind of interesting. Odd that he would be standing at Bridgewatch in dress uniform, but
maybe there was some sort of event or occasion or
ceremony.
Something.
Yeah,
that's
when you do that occasionally too. When there's going to be some like a big wig, come on the ship, and everybody hates that. In the Navy, you get your dress uniform and not get it trashed. Not trash your uniform.
Don't get anything on it, but still go do your job.
Exactly.
Is that a trumpet on his epaulette? I'm looking at a picture off of Memory Alpha.
It's not a trumpet.
It kind of looks like one, man.
Yeah, but it's like...
It's a hammer. Hello, hammer.
Hello.
Hey, man.
It looks like a Jolly Rancher candy is what I think it is. It's actually representative of like a fire stick candy.
I know.
We're talking about cause and effect and Captain Bozeman's
uniform.
Kelsey
Grammer's uniform.
That was almost a pick of mine. It's cause and effect. I think we remember talking about this last week.
Yeah.
Is that I really liked cause and effect. Great episode.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was a. I love cause. I was saying to Skep and I that the first time I watched it on cable, I thought that somebody at the station accidentally started it over again.
That could be really confusing.
Yeah, if you're watching that with your eyes shut and it's the first, like if you can't see and it's the first time you've seen that episode, you're like, what's going on? Did
That's
somebody
exactly the same
up?
if you close your eyes.
Yeah.
I felt the same way even with my eyes open. I was like,
yeah, I bet you
didn't
did.
I just see this?
Yes.
Oh, obviously it's me because they wouldn't have done anything crazy. So let's just go ahead and watch it anyway. And the third time through, I'm like, no, this isn't me.
Yeah.
So,
clearly something's going on.
So you said you liked this episode a lot, Hammer, but we've all kind of discussed it a little bit. What did you like about it?
Well, I think I mentioned the last time that the reason I picked Remember Me is because things quickly started not making sense. And that's exactly what happens here.
Yes.
You start seeing this, and this doesn't make sense. So it makes you think. It kind of tricked you a little bit. And that's why I always picked it, is because, but then I couldn't pick it because I picked Remember Me. I didn't want to pick 2 episodes that made you think like that. So that's the only reason why I didn't pick it. But it's interesting that you gotta imagine that the actors who are portraying their lines have read these lines 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times each. You gotta think, Jordy. How many times did Jordy said it's a long way down to the bottom of the warp core?
Yeah.
You know, he had to say that how many times because they filmed him at least 5 or 6, and then of course people make mistakes, so that's 7, 8, 9. It kind of makes you think, geez, what the hell do these actors go through for, episodes? How many times you get a take wrong, or somebody says something, or there's a bump in the background or something like that, and then these guys have to do it 5 more times as part of the episode itself. And every time it's a different perspective. The camera's being shot from a different view, so the director has to keep track of what he already shot, so he doesn't shoot the same thing twice. It's just there's a lot of cool things about it. I mean, maybe the acting is always stellar, but this one was specific that everybody had to be on their toes and everybody had to put in a lot of extra work.
Yeah, the continuity people had to earn their bread that way.
Yeah. This wasn't just a Riker flashback episode. They had to put their asses on the line for this one. I mean, they really had to work hard to make this one work. So,
yeah,
and it does.
They were very well.
I was surprised to hear you say that you liked it last week because it was in my pool of top episodes. When you said that, I thought, I probably should just include that. I basically have about, seriously, 15 episodes that are all tied for my number 2 episode.
Yeah.
And this isn't some kind of corny answer either. It's
Yeah.
a believable thing that Data would look up and see Riker's 3 pips on his collar and say, "Oh, we'll just throw number 3 through." It makes sense. It's not,
It does.
Yes.
Wesley just managed to do this and everything works. No. This actually made sense in a way that it could actually happen. It seems to me like if you can put aside the fact that we're in a starship in the middle of nowhere, the fact that this was the answer or how they got around to solving the equation, it was kind of like, yeah, well, that makes sense. That's a good way to solve it.
Especially because they had the android recognize the pattern.
Yeah, it was kind of Data saves the day, but it wasn't all. Data didn't.
It would be less believable if a normal human was like, "Oh yes, I've noticed this pattern of 3s and 3 on Commander Riker's collar," and like, I would have more trouble believing that if one of the other bridge crew did that.
Well, Data saves the day by sending the 3, but everybody sees the 3.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody kind of, as a group, figures this out. Even though Data actually did the work, everybody came together to understand what's going on. So
True.
Great episode.
Yep.
And then seeing Kelsey
Thank
Grammer.
God they didn't use Wesley to figure it out as Mr. Dex.
Yeah,
Wesley was gone by then. Wesley was at Starfleet Academy by then, fucking up by doing the Culvered Starburst maneuver.
Yes.
Which is the very next episode
Right.
after Cause and Effect.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So yeah, that's basically that's Cause and Effect, and it's a good episode. Like, it's a good standalone episode. I think there's no extraneous scenes.
If I was trying to get somebody interested in Star Trek, that's the episode I would tell them to watch.
Yeah,
Yes. I
it's very
agree.
Star Trek.
It's very it's kind of to almost, the expression would, it could be almost OG TNG.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a good old in space weirdness episode.
It's a very Star Trek episode. You're right.
Yeah. So So anyway, those were the things I liked about it. Thought it was. I loved the line. Still no help for the Klingon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The poker game.
And the way she delivers it.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that was Data who said that, wasn't it?
Data's line.
Was it
actually.
Data? I thought it
Data-
was Crusher.
No, Data's stealing. No, Data is stealing.
That's right.
And he looks over. Still no help for the Klingon. And I went, Data. God damn it, dude. I remember thinking that was way out of character for him. Seemed like humor
Yeah.
and emotion and all sorts of things. So thought that was very fun.
What sold the line was the look on Worf's face. That really sold it.
Yes, and Worf's reaction to it was
Worf's like, what? What the hell?
He's already expressed, I'm not sure you've randomized the deck.
Far be it for me to accuse my senior officers of, I love how he throws that in. So then we move on to another episode that Hammer almost picked, actually,
And
which
it's
is Masks.
supposedly the least favorite of all TNG episodes of the cast. The one they
Really?
all despised. Yes.
Even Data? Because this is basically a Data episode.
He hated
Yeah.
it worse than anybody.
Spiner didn't like it?
Yeah, he did not get the script until the night before they shot it.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
He was up all night going through that part, getting ready for the thing, pissed off that the rewrite had taken so long. This
No
script
kidding.
was massaged. It was such an out there idea that they had to hire a guy, I can't remember his name, to do the final rewrite on it. I would have to look it up to tell you who it was. But he was a professional script fixer, basically.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
he rewrote a whole bunch of it and literally was delivered to the cast at like 4 p.m, the night before they shot it. So there was no sit down, read through, nothing. It was just blow and go. Makeup on, read your lines, go.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, they all thought in the morning when they were shooting it, somebody, and I've heard the story about 3 different times from 3 different places. Somebody got the giggles about it, and they couldn't stop laughing at each other while they were shooting.
Oh no.
And I'm actually quoting from an article. In a 2012 interview with TrekMovie.com, Brent Spiner recalled, there was one that we thought was terrible. This was one that we thought was terrible while we were doing it. We were laughing at each other's faces at the acting we were doing in Masks, but it's still a fan favorite. I'm always hearing how the fans love it, and let me tell you, we could not look at each other.
Oh, wow.
Marina Sirtis was laughing at me. I was laughing at Patrick. He was laughing at me. We were thinking this is preposterous, but you cut it together and add the music, and it actually works.
Yeah. I love that. When I was a kid, it freaked me out. When I was a kid, when Data is doing the EHOT,
You can't.
Masaka is waking. Like, the voice he did was so creepy to me when I was a kid. And
I like the old man the best.
Yeah, I did too.
Cold in here.
Sit with me by the fire. But the music also made it creepier. Like, especially when it first starts, where Data is like, Geordi, what does it feel like when a person is losing his mind? Like, that is the most disturbing line I think I've ever heard in Trek. What does it feel like when a person is losing his mind? And Geordi's response is, Data, you're starting to scare me. Right? Like, that's... And it's so scary. Like, it's such a scary line because it's also a line, delivered between friends.
Yes.
And it's so, like, one friend, he's like, dude, what? I'm feeling like I'm going crazy, and like, can you help me out here? And the other one's like, no, not really. Um, it was a very I did not know that they didn't like that episode. Actually, you can't tell when you watch this episode. You can't tell that they didn't like it.
But there you go.
So, what did you like about it, Scap? What makes this?
I loved seeing Brent Spiner's range
Mm-hmm.
as an actor.
Yeah.
I was absolutely. I thought this is like a magnum opus for this guy. This is like his very best work. It 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 just showed what a huge talent he was, to me anyway. I always had admiration for the way that he played Data. That was just such a brilliant interpretation of a part that could have been interpreted a number of ways.
Yes.
And I thought he did brilliantly. I mean,
Yeah, I think the
that's
writers
not a
had
word
a
I
hard
just throw around either.
right. Yeah, the writers adjusted slower than he did.
Probably, yeah. I would say that that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that's very likely. I wasn't there obviously, but let's see. One of the directors or one of the writers was saying Brent was very nervous about doing all those parts. He said Dustin Hoffman had a year to figure out how to do Tootsie and portray a woman. I said, you don't have to portray a woman, just portray a leader. He ended up carving up 4 unique, distinct personalities, which are very, very tough on an actor, especially given the time constraints.
Yeah.
Because they just, handed him the strip and said, see you tomorrow morning in makeup.
Yeah, that has to be so, like, frustrating and nerve-wracking as an actor.
Yes.
Just be like, here you go. See you tomorrow. We'll
Yep.
be filming tomorrow. Wait, what?
And it was hardest on Brent Spiner, and he got absolutely no slack from the rest of the cast. They were laughing at his distress, which is sort of wonderful in a way.
Well, like, when you're friends with, like, when you end up being friends, like, and you see somebody going through that kind of ludicrousness, like, you don't mean to laugh.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it ends up happening,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
You're not laughing at him to hurt him. Right? You're just like, oh my god, thank god that's not me. Oh, fuck.
But he had one night to come up with Masaka is waking.
Yeah.
That. So.
And the little boy, when he is playing that for that like 10 seconds.
Yes.
When he's like terrified.
Yep.
And he and Patrick Stewart's like, please you're hurting me, right? Let go of me, because he's crushing him with his android strength, right?
Right.
And he's
exactly.
But to come up with that in a night, right, is
pretty remarkable.
Tour de force.
Yeah, that's an actor. So I loved Data's thing. I loved the anthropology of it. This harkened back to any number of when you come upon a lost civilization, as it were, you come up what they call in anthropology or archaeology a new archaeological horizon. That just means like a new level where all the pottery is obviously from one particular time, and you've discovered basically a look back into a civilization at a particular time you had not discovered up until you had excavated this part of the dig. And that's sort of what happens when they come on this comet and they burn away the comet part. And there's a freaking archive, a combination museum and database
Yeah.
underneath it. And I just as an anthropologist, myself, I knew I was going to like it the minute that happened.
Yeah.
and then
Well,
and then
'cause
for Data
Picard's an
to turn in that
anthropologist
performance,
too.
right? Exactly.
Like that was his second. Like that was his degree basically for like not being a captain. If he wasn't a Starfleet captain, he would have been
An archaeologist.
an archaeologist.
Yeah, and
So, and you can see the excitement.
Anthropologists in uniform are kind of a theme in my life.
Yeah.
If you take me, because that's actually what my degree was in. My undergraduate degree was in anthropology. So anyway, I love that aspect of it. I love the Data's acting in it. All the supporting performances are, it was much better than what you would expect a 1 day of practice type of script.
Yeah.
To be. You almost think that maybe that's a thing. You just give them the script and just say you got 1 day to get the character, or 1 night to get the character.
Yeah, you should try that more often.
They did that brilliantly. They did it brilliantly, and nobody had a harder time of it than Brent Spiner.
I like what they did near the end, where the Enterprise starts transforming into the actual temple.
The actual civilization.
The civilization.
Part of the civilization of them.
Part of the ship becomes like a jungle. Part of the ship,
is an aqueduct.
Yeah.
Deck 12's an aqueduct. Okay,
yeah.
Don't go to Deck 12 anymore. It's very wet.
I thought that was an interesting development. That was pretty cool.
Yep. So this was probably it might be the most controversial of my picks. I don't know the one that I might get second guessed on, but I just thought it was an interesting episode, fascinating premise, and unbelievable performance, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've probably watched it 5 or 6 times in my life, and I like it every single time. So,
what do you guys think about Masks, Irate and Hammer?
In my opinion, okay, it was such a kind of a bizarre thing, and it was pretty much Spiner took that thing and he owned it, right?
Yeah, he did.
He did a fantastic job with the role, and the whole idea of the probe, downloading all the information about their whole fucking whatever
civilization.
Exactly. Into it was incredible. It's a great idea. It's like when you get older, you start thinking of, well, what am I going to leave behind, right? Especially if you don't have kids like me. And so some of us are trying to leave a digital thumbprint.
And I like how they started the episode. I don't know if any of you caught this, but
the classroom with Joy.
Yeah.
Yes. He's making a pad.
Make music. Show me music. Right. Show me a representation of music with clay.
And he shows it, and he makes a treble clef.
Yeah. That was really cool. I like the symbolism of that.
Yep. And just teaching Data the idea of doing something in the abstract as opposed to the realism. He produces a perfect replica, clay replica of a PAD, of a pad.
Cult of Krill says he always liked Masks as well. It's a good episode.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to your... Oh, yeah, Hammer. What did you like about Masks?
Well, like I said, I almost picked this as one of mine. I really thought it was in my top 5. And we already kind of beat to death that this was a tour de force for Brent Spiner. But there was it was a good story overall. Just, I mean, I understand it had to be rewritten and it was last minute, all that kind of stuff. But when you sit back and watch it from beginning to end, you can't tell
No.
that they were under this pressure. It, you know, and the story was a good, solid story. It had a nice beginning, middle, and end. So it was well rounded. Even though they had to rewrite it several times, it ended up in a good place. So whoever that guy was that they contracted to come in and do the rewrite, he did ended up doing a really good job because it was a really good story. There's a lot of episodes, if you look at them askance, there's a lot of episodes that end up with Troy and Data as in the beginning and end a lot. Even the one where what was the Freud episode where he stabbed her? Yeah, there's something about she's all emotion and he's all not emotion. That ends up being played in a lot of these Star Trek episodes, and it's here as well, where she's like draw music and he is an android who has to draw something that is not logical. So I like that aspect to it, and there's kind of a collaborative effort in how are we going to fix this? What's going on? Everybody seems to be engaged, no pun intended, in solving it. Again, it's like the last episode. You get to see everybody's face and trying to figure out what's going on here. So, it was just a solid, well-rounded episode. Besides the fact that Brent was very impressive. So,
yeah,
the guy who, the person who polished the script and they say saved it was not credited on the episode. Naren Shankar was the name. I just found this.
I can see why. Jeez, what a name.
Naren Shankar.
Shankar, maybe? Naren Shankar?
Narendra Naren Kanakaya Shankar, born April 1st, 1964, so born on April Fool's Day. Writer and producer who joined the writing staff of Star Trek Next Generation as an intern during the latter half of the fourth season. He then wrote several episodes for Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and for Deep Space Nine, as well as Star Trek Voyager, blah, blah, blah.
An intern saved the day?
Yeah, evidently. Ouch. He's an Indian. This is Dot, not Feather. But yeah, he's an Indian guy. But not a native.
Maybe that's why they didn't give him credit, because he's an intern.
Well, I think he had written later, maybe Voyager, a couple episodes of Voyager. I remember that name, seeing that name. So somewhere in the production, I don't know. Naren Shankar.
But there you go. He has a PhD in engineering physics and electrical engineering from Cornell. He's a smart guy. Wow. And he was bored, didn't want to work as a scientist, and he moved to LA to become a writer. Sure, what the hell not? You know, you get a PhD in electrical engineering, you can entry level is $200,000 a year, but what the hell? You know?
No kidding.
It's not like he didn't have something to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly. He worked with Harlan Ellison, among others. Shared a 2000 Writers Guild of Canada award for the episode "The Human Operators." Just a little bit of background on Naren Shankar, the guy with the weird name and the amazing degree.
Speaking of engineering and cybernetics and all that fun things.
Yes, indeed.
Skep Talk's last pick.
Class and by itself, all-time
and
favorite.
I would probably say it's his favorite, is The Offspring, which is another great Data episode.
Yeah.
About Data building himself a child.
Absolutely.
Named Lal.
Which means beloved in Sanskrit.
Yeah. Which I love that the person, the being that can't feel emotion.
Yes.
Names his daughter Beloved.
Exactly. And has one of the most emotionally powerful episodes in the whole canon. Don't fight me.
No, I exactly. It's from beginning to end. Like,
one of the things, just as an aside, I mean, we'll go through the plot of it. One of the things I enjoy is what happens to the admiral at the end.
Mm-hmm. Because it starts with
he's a hard ass.
He is a hard ass, and he's from Starfleet Command, and he's trying to get Lal away from Data to basically to study her.
So soon, android, the only other one in existence.
Yeah. And Picard, I also like Picard's transformation.
Yes.
Because at first, he's like, why didn't you ask me? Right? And Data's like, well, I don't recall any other couples or,
right.
people who have kids on board coming to ask your permission. Right? I love
their procreation plans with you.
I love that line. And Picard's like, shit, you're right.
You're right, but that's not what I meant.
And then he's like, I'll go and deactivate her. And Picard's like, it's a life, Data. You can't just turn it off.
I just love that whole exchange. It just makes me grin from ear to ear.
It does, yeah.
I mean, it's one of those, I stop it and I run it back just so I can hear it again. I love that episode so much.
Yeah. So the whole, before the Admiral comes, it centers around Lal basically learning and going through the android equivalent of growing up. And I really like watching that because
get the job and 10 forward.
Yes. and Data, because Data always hints about him having trouble, as a, freshly activated android.
Yes.
Right? But we never saw it really. Because by the time he got to to the Enterprise, he had graduated, he had learned how to socialize. We see him learning about humanity still, but he at least, what did they call it? Reaching sentience that Lal was going through. He had at least done that by the time he was on the Enterprise in season 1. So it's really cool that you get to have a bit of a snapshot of what it must have been like for Data to learn about the, rudimentary social cues of humanity. Like, because there's a scene with Dr. Crusher that I have to point out here, where he goes to her and he's like, you're one of the best examples of a parent I know. How do I help Lal, deal with her peers because they're uncomfortable with her? Right. And it's a great scene.
Yes.
Because even though he can't technically feel the worry, you can feel it. Like, he knows that this is not a good thing for her.
Right.
And he needs to fix it. And it's really well done. Moonshock, he goes, love when Lal sees the couple kissing and she shouts, he's biting that female.
Yes, exactly. And then Riker walks into 10 forward.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, you're new here.
And he hits on her.
And he hits on her.
Just picks them off.
I know what to do. I'll bite him.
And Guinan's like, Lal, put him down.
Right. So I said Riker's a slut, and I'm going to stand by that statement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Commander, what are your intentions to my daughter?
Your daughter?
The look on Riker's face is like beautiful.
He's stricken.
I'm going to take her to Raza.
And I
run
love
a train on that shit.
I love that the Admiral just happens to walk in, like, right then. It's like just a setup of bad timing all around, like
wonderful. That's straight out of, that's almost operatic right there. It's just
Yep.
it's greatness, just greatness.
Yep.
So I love the the gentle the interweaving of humor and serious themes that go all through this, and then you end up at the end with a very uh, a powerful
Yes.
end.
Because the admiral starts out just by thinking by being very callous and almost treating Lal like property.
Like
And
an science
Picard,
experiment. Yeah.
yeah, and Picard even harkens back to Measure of a Man. He's like, Lal is a sentient being. I helped define those laws, right? You don't get to just like there's a line that Picard delivers when the admiral basically says, "Screw you, she's coming with me," and you will tell her, Data, you will tell her to report to me.
Order her.
And yeah, and Picard goes, "Belay that."
Yes. Oh, I love that moment.
And he goes,
Stand your
and he,
ground, Mr. Data. No one's going anywhere on my ship.
yeah,
I like that
I
attitude.
love that.
goes,
Belay that order, because that's actually in the Navy. That's what you say when you contradict that type of an order. Belay that.
and he says, "Allow the state to interfere with a father and his I won't allow that. I don't care. I will take this above your head."
Right.
I know
you're
admirals.
risking your career. You're risking your career.
He basically said, "I know admirals that are more powerful than you, and I will go to them, you little shit." Is basically what Picard was saying.
Yep.
He's I may be a captain, but I have friends that will eat you for breakfast.
Exactly.
Is this the episode where he uses a line, "Men of good conscience do not simply follow orders"? Is that this episode?
No, that is Redemption.
Redemption.
When Data ignores his order to rendezvous at
I knew that.
Gamma Eridon and stays back to expose the tachyon net.
Gotcha. All right. Well, then another question. Is this the episode where Data's in the elevator with Riker and Troy, and Riker says something along the lines is, "We're going to miss your input," and Data says, "I'm very fond of you, Commander, and you as well, Counselor," before he gets out of the elevator? Is that this episode?
No, that's Time Zero.
Oh, man. Dude. I'm not fighting 100 here, am I?
This is...
It seems appropriate for this episode, though.
It does.
Yeah.
I like... But one of my favorite parts of this episode is when it, near the end, when Lal starts to feel. When she's being interviewed by the Admiral. And she just kind of freaks out. And runs to Troy's office.
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry. Moonshock is correcting me and saying that you're right, Hammer. He goes, the direct quote is, "There are times, sir, when men of good conscience cannot stand by...
Cannot blindly follow
or
orders.
cannot blindly follow orders," yeah.
You acknowledge their sentience, but ignore their personal liberties and freedom.
Yeah.
Order a man to turn his child over to the state, not while I'm his captain.
Yeah.
Great
Good
line.
job. Great job, Moonshock.
Yeah, it's and then she freaks out and runs to Troy. And Data says, she's programmed to go back to my lab when there's something wrong. And I think it's either Picard or the Admiral that says, emotions mean something's wrong, right? Like something like that. Feeling emotion means that there's something wrong or something of that nature. And it comes to light that there's a cascade failure in Lal's neural net.
Yes.
And the Admiral starts, you can see when he asks if he can assist.
Yes.
You can tell he's starting to understand.
Yes.
But the big change is when he comes out of the lab.
Yes.
And he's basically fighting back tears. And he's saying,
He looks haggard.
yeah, he's saying his hands were moving faster than I could see.
They were a blur. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, but even he couldn't keep up. He would, correct one problem and another would just pop up, and his voice was just completely like he realized, this is his this is his child. They may be machines.
Yep.
But this is his child. And I had no right to take her away from him.
It says in Memory Alpha states it, Admiral Haftel emerges exhausted and heartbroken. He says Lal cannot be saved and will not survive much longer. No matter what they did, something else would show up. They repolarized one pathway and another would collapse. And then another, watching Data using every ounce of his inhuman speed, trying to stay ahead of Lal's breakdown. The Admiral sadly concludes, it just wasn't meant to be.
To be, yeah. Yeah, Moonshock's right when Lal says, thank you for my life.
Yes.
That just, oh.
Oh, man.
And she says, I love you, Father. And he says, I wish I could feel that. And she goes, I will feel it for both of us.
If you have a child, man, you just can't, words can't express.
Yeah.
So.
Can I throw some cold water in this?
Sure.
I was asking Skep more than anything. The major gripe I had with this, because I have two. One's big and one's small. The major gripe I have is that we've seen this episode before. The episode of a father who has a daughter whose emotional awareness destroys her. This is the episode where the older father was Socrates and Plato and all these, and they're getting Ritalin off the planet.
Mm.
Here we have the father who has a daughter who, when she becomes emotionally aware and falls in love with Kirk, kills her.
Right.
That's pretty much this episode too. Although this episode diverges in a lot of ways, still the basic story is a father with a daughter who becomes emotionally aware, destroys her. Same thing.
Mm.
So that's what kind of bothered me a little bit about that. The other thing is, it seems like this was directed by 6 or 7 different people.
Was that Requiem for Methuselah?
Yes, that's what it was.
That's what I thought.
The name, but yeah.
Yep.
This seems like it was directed by a bunch of different directors because scenes don't seem to fit well between them. One scene is shot dark and the talk is slow. Other scenes are shot bright and things move quickly. It doesn't seem to... it's like almost hard to explain, but the episode doesn't seem to flow very well. I don't know. Am I the only person who caught that?
There is a mood shift between scenes.
I didn't feel like it was jerky between scenes. I may have been so caught up in it emotionally. I was so in love with Lal and the relationship she had with Data that I almost didn't pay attention to a lot of things that I normally would. That I would normally would pay attention to because it's a very emotional episode for me.
Yeah, it just felt a little disjointed, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But I never got as emotionally involved in this episode as you guys have gotten.
Right.
I was like, oh, well, she died. I don't know why. Maybe I'm an asshole or something. I don't know, but it just never really got to me.
It depends on, your life experience.
Don't have any kids. Maybe that's a part of it.
Yeah. I can understand.
Yeah, because even before I had my kids, I was responsible very largely for helping with my little sister. So I was very involved in raising her. So that's still, like, before I had my own kids, that still had an impact on me. Because my sister's 12 years younger than I am. So, like, when I say I had a hand raising in her, I mean, like, diapers, bottle feeding, like, all that stuff. So yeah, it's probably life experience. Like,
I guess. On the other hand, when Kirk is sending Spock's body out to the Genesis planet, I can't keep a dry eye. As soon as his voice cracks, I lose it. So,
yeah.
but that's not a child. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me that I couldn't get emotionally involved in this. Maybe if I watch it again at this point, after hearing how you guys feel, maybe it will resonate more.
That's a good, because there's been a few things that you guys have pointed out in episodes that I've watched like tons of times, that I'll watch again and I'll go, oh, okay, now I see. Like, so.
My dog had been barking. I didn't realize I had muted myself.
Oops.
I was talking. I couldn't believe people were just talking over me.
Sorry about that. You didn't know. I was wondering why it got so quiet. I was like, boy, I probably shouldn't have said anything about this.
I was saying all kinds of things about, having the importance of having kids and how much it made me identify with me. Oh my, a lot of wisdom wasted. Well,
that's that.
That's funny. Anyway, so but this is an episode that is, it's worth saying again. This is a class by itself. I remember the first time I saw this episode, I just went. I felt like I had seen a tremendous movie, a terrific movie. That you just walk out of, and you're. Very few movies I even feel that way about. That affected me so deeply as this one. So this one really got me.
Yeah. Well, my friends, I am not sure if because next weekend is Canadian Thanksgiving, and we usually go close up our cottage on Thanksgiving, but I'm not sure if we are going to be able to go next weekend. So, as of now,
is it Canadian Thanksgiving next weekend?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you what do you have? Do you have like pigeons instead of turkeys?
No, we have turkey.
Oh, you have turkey. Okay.
And sometimes we the staples like turkey or ham, or potatoes,
So
like mashed potatoes.
You give thanks for John Simcoe?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say definitively whether or not there will be a stream for Star Trek next week, but I will let you all know. And if we do have one, it will be Irate's turn.
Have you picked your 3 yet? Irate?
Yeah, I'm down to 8.
You're down to 8. That's kind of the way I did it.
It's fucking 7 years, man.
It's hard.
I think I had 11 episodes that I picked 3 from, basically. Well, I picked 2 from because I knew one of them. But
all right, BP, I bet you know this one. What was the name of the episode where they were being experimented on by these clicky creatures?
That is called. That is called. It is Schisms.
Yes.
That is the name of it.
Is that one of your picks?
No, I don't know. I don't know yet. I have to watch them, all 8 of them, and then narrow it down to 3. I'll have something by middle of the week for sure.
Is your taxonomic nomenclature an endothermic carnivorous by nature?
I love that poem. Felix Caddis. Yes.
Data's poetry.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Star Trek poetry.
I like the line, like I mentioned earlier. I like the line where Geordi says, "We've all been, I've been in this room before," and then Riker says, "We've all been in this room before."
Yeah. And I love how it's nothing like when they actually get there, because I've been told like by
it's dark.
It's like nothing like it's nothing like the one they made on the holodeck.
But isn't that kind of true? If you try to explain something, it never ends up being exactly the way that you think you remember it.
It's the closest thing to like Lovecraftian episode, I think, that I've seen. I recall.
But we don't want to discuss it too much because if it ends up being on the list,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
It may not make it. It may make it. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, guys, I want to thank all of you for coming out and watching, and thank my panel for hanging out with me and doing another of a stream. If you guys are awake tonight at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, it's Minions of the Zoo. And is Reject doing her night, or is someone else?
Who knows?
Okay.
I guess I better check Discord and see if I'm hosting.
Yeah, you might be hosting today.
Well, if you are hosting Skep for your birthday, then I will come in.
All right.
out.
Well, let me see what's going on. I'll let you
Your
know.
birthday?
It is my birthday today.
Are you 80 now?
No, I'm 29. In base 29, I'm 29 years old.
So now you have to convert from base 29.
So if you can convert
Do you
from base
think I'm going to
29,
do that? Do you really think I'm going to do that?
I bet
I'm
you
going to say
can
happy
in your head.
birthday, and that's going to be the end of it.
I'll bet
You
yeah,
probably
if you know
could
if you know
do it.
Chisenbot method, you could do it in your head. I'm 67 today.
Okay,
Decimal.
thank you. What is
It's
that
a
in binary?
really, really long number in binary.
Yeah.
Base 3 isn't much better.
So
there you
and
go.
of course, tomorrow, who is on the in the bowl of ice cream tomorrow? There,
It'd be Doc Griffin.
All right, sounds
Schedule.
fun.
Yeah.
All right. And what time is
And
It's 5 p.m. Eastern,
that? 4 p.m.
4 Central.
Central.
4 Central, awesome.
Pacific.
And much earlier in
Nice.
the day in Hawaii.
And of course, the Blind and the Special tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
So
Doggo.
I hope everyone. Doggo.
Doggo.
Yes.
Yeah, dog barking in the background. I'm
Who's
sorry
that?
about that. I just can't. The dogs are out of control.
What breed is that dog?
That is a dachshund and a poodle puppy barking together. They're barking at nothing because when there's nothing to bark at, they bark at nothing.
I like when dogs
I'll
can't make the
mark those
decision
off.
on whether they want to bark or not, and they kind of half bark.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you get a lot of that sort of.
Well, I hope everyone has a great rest of their Saturday. And Pink Hollow and I will see you tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern. And go check out iRate's channel tomorrow at 5 p.m. for the ice cream interviews. And go to Minions tonight for Minions. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And thanks to Skep Hammer and iRate for joining me. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Love, peace, chicken grace. Yeah.